Living a life of integrity is a personal decision, but our personal integrity impacts more than just us. Our integrity as Salvationists impacts how people see the Salvation Army. More importantly, our integrity as Christians affects how people see Jesus. Living a life of integrity so that others see the love of God through us in our church doesn't mean we will avoid suffering. Let's look at two examples, one from the Bible and one from the Salvation Army. You may know Joseph as the guy who had a coat of many colors. His dad gave it to him, and Joseph's brothers were jealous. Joseph made some bad choices and boasted to his brothers, so they sold him as a slave. Joseph ended up in Egypt, far from his homeland, and was purchased by a man named Potiphar. Potiphar worked for Pharaoh, who was the highest leader in the land. God's hand was on Joseph's life, and he prospered in Potiphar's home, finding great favor with his master. Let's pick up the story in Genesis 39, verses 6 through 9. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well-built and handsome, and after a while his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." But he refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Instead of choosing to live in bitterness and resentment toward his brothers, Joseph chose to focus on serving and being a man of great moral character. And he chose to respond to temptation with integrity. It would be nice to read that he was rewarded immediately because he represented God well. Unfortunately, instead, Potiphar's wife lied about what happened and had Joseph arrested. Joseph spent the next several years in prison. As we see, Joseph's integrity didn't guarantee that he wouldn't suffer. However, because of his integrity, he was in the right place at the right time to meet the right people who would eventually lead him to serve Pharaoh directly and become the second in charge over everything in Egypt. Ultimately, this led to being in a position to save the people of Israel from famine. His integrity impacted an entire nation. The Salvation Army has a history of many men and women who have lived lives of integrity under very difficult circumstances. They have shown the love of Jesus even when it has been so hard to do so. One such person is Major Mesalamani Anapakiam. Mesalamani grew up in a Salvation Army institution in India. She had a terrible accident as a child with a rusty swinging gait that disfigured her face. In her culture, marriage is seen as the highest and best position for a woman. However, her facial injury essentially ensured that she would never marry. But despite battling a poor self-image and dashed hopes for the future, she chose to serve God as a nurse and as a Salvation Army officer. Major Mesalamani Anapakiam was the nursing director of a 300-bed Salvation Army hospital in South India. She served with great distinction and as a model of humility and integrity and of selfless but effective service. The Salvation Army ran a school of nursing through the hospital. Many families would have happily paid her anything she demanded to enroll their daughters, but she never accepted a penny. Once, when she refused to enroll a very unqualified candidate, the family attacked her and doused her with kerosene. Although several attempts were made to ignite the flammable fluid, the lighter wouldn't work, and Major Anapakiam escaped unharmed. Her sister Rachel has schizophrenia and requires significant care. Rather than putting her in an institution, Major Anapakiam chose to care for her sister in her home with great compassion and patience. Despite the physical and emotional scars of her past, Major Anapakiam had a sweet disposition and a godly spirit throughout her ministry. She finally retired to a tiny house to continue caring for her sister full-time. Like Joseph, Major Anapakiam could have chosen bitterness and resentment over her past. Instead, she chose a life of service and integrity. She honored God by using her gifts for the benefit of the Salvation Army's ministry and for the benefit of her sister. Her integrity benefited so many more than just herself. Living a life of integrity doesn't mean we will be free of suffering, but neither does it guarantee we will have to suffer greatly like either of these two examples. We choose to live with integrity because we want to represent Jesus well and because we want others to know his amazing love.